how? Okay,
Litigation.
5 minutes, litigation, RCW 423110-1I. So we'll go into executive session for 5 minutes from 8:31 to 8:36. Danny, because I was like, you know.
Did you want to extend for discussion on that issue?
We are out of executive session. No, I think probably need to look at the names a little better.
That's all I have.
It's been quite a bit.
WAPA is trying to do a workload study of all the prosecutors around the
Okay.
state to kind of analyze what should have been analyzed before we did all the public defender stuff. They're asking us to contribute a little under $5,000. I have it in my budget, but I just wanted to run it by you and make sure you're okay with it.
And they're doing a work study of all the
Prosecutors. If you're okay with me taking that out of my budget.
I am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think that was all I had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything from you guys?
No. Are you guys involved at all in the LEAD Summit?
I'm sorry?
The LEAD Summit?
No, I saw the emails on it, but I really haven't. Didn't quite seem to be where I was going. But
I was looking
Nobody
through the
commented.
list of different things, and I was thinking, you would think that with
when is that again?
14th of November.
14th.
And the thought just occurred to me while we were sitting here, I was going, you know, how people are struggling with crime and intensive drug trafficking area that we've been designated as I'm surprised they wouldn't ask for a little input from the prosecutors on how we're dealing with crime at the judicial level, you know, and at the prosecution level, but
I mean, I'm
not
happy
there.
to show up. I mean, I've been on the invitation list.
maybe even during Joey's presentation about crime and.
Okay, I'll look at
So
it.
it's an all day, this is what, it's all day and it has breakout rooms? See, that's what I was.
see.
I'm like, how many speakers does he have, how many
On our
sessions?
calendar, it's only scheduled till 4, but on the invite, it goes to 6:30.
Well, I think because from 4 to 6:30 is happy hour.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Oh.
adult beverage, because they got the liquor license officially, so
Oh,
there
that's
I
how we
go,
get
isn't
happy.
that way of happy hour? I don't know what you call
I guess
it.
I'm not happy.
The social hour, it's a social hour. But yeah, I'm like, usually if you have breakout sessions, you have 3 or 4, you know.
I'll look at the email again. Yeah, if you want me to show up, I'm happy to.
If you go on the EDC website,
Okay.
you can look up the event and see all of the list of everybody that's speaking and what's happening.
No, they never contacted me.
The reason I was looking at it today, Cindy, was because of that event in Spokane, the 13th and 14th, about the Columbia River Treaty. And so I was trying to figure out, can I do both, you know? And there's a breakfast with BC leaders at 7 a.m. on the 14th. So I'm trying to figure out whether I can hit that breakfast for an hour and then
You know, I have our
Head
domestic
to
violence
Moses
sexual
Lake.
assault consortium and area 18. So I'm just trying to.
Yeah, you had like 3 things going on
I
that
know.
day besides that.
Of course, they picked the busiest day.
Yeah.
So what do you do?
Yeah.
Skip your
Well, I
work.
want to participate in this. I think that it's a good thing. I just, stuff come up. And I serve on other committees that would want me to be at the Columbia River Treaty thing. The second day didn't look too interesting. It was more like, well, it didn't have to do specifically with the treaty. It had more to do with governance, sharing governance transboundary things with BC and Washington. And I'm like,
Hey, favor I was gonna ask you, and I didn't want to pop in your office and have an illegal meeting. When you go to Wasac, will you, or I think Rob's going, will somebody hit the 4-hour work, the 32-hour work week? Because some of the counties, I know there's been
having a session
discussion.
on that?
About instead of raising, some people would opt to have an additional day off instead of some of the,
Yes, San Juan is going to hearing tomorrow. I don't know if anybody else is.
but I don't think they close their courthouse on Friday, do they close their, or it's just everybody shifts around and I know during COVID they were.
I'm not sure, I can ask Amy easy enough, but
Like
I thought they,
sometimes,
they don't close the courthouse because the court still has to follow the state court days. But I think they close all the offices and
Oh, okay.
stuff and
If-
just run a kind of skeleton crew court.
okay.
If I'm not having an LSC or Columbia River Caucus meeting during that, I'll do it for you.
Okay.
Because I
Because it
mean,
was kind of curious.
that's something
because-
you're interested in and maybe I can give you some help.
Okay.
'Cause I,
No, that's, there's a couple I wanted to, you know, when you look at, like, this would be interesting, because have employed, you know, I really have a day off, then, you know,
or even if I have to go to a different meeting, I'm supposed to pick up, my wife's coming in from Papua New Guinea that day or the night, I'll
oh,
pick her
so
up at
she
the
stayed up,
airport.
okay, you came back early then,
No, she's going to New Guinea coming Friday.
okay,
And so she'll be gone until the night of that
Oh, okay,
event.
so
And
she-
she flies into Portland, I pick her up and just, we go to the conference.
okay.
And I apologize, I need to go ahead and head out. I am going to Gonzaga, for a recruitment event.
How fun,
Yeah.
okay, go recruit.
I think we're done, really, aren't we?
Okay, yeah, unless you have any other questions. I'll take a closer look at that lead summit thing and.
Taking a basketball game, are they even playing yet?
I have no clue. We're gonna do a presentation over the lunch hour and hopefully, get some interest in, internships and, just prosecution in general and,
Well, good luck,
So-
safe travels.
yeah, thank you.
Okay, it's 8:48, we are in recess until 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
Danny, you want to mute, please?
Yeah, saw an interesting article.
We are now.
Good afternoon, it is 11:01, we are here with Development Services with our monthly update. Jim and Chris to go over everything.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Yeah, it's the October report in the month of November, with a couple to go. The agenda is, as usual, the Development Services update, permitting, and revenue statistics. Still trending, if you look at the building of submitted by portal or submitted by mail, it's pretty much hanging right at 50% as usual, so we've been monitoring that all along to see if we should enhance, and our processes are
What did we have in July that just kicked it up 409,000?
jail,
And May, 403,000?
Simplot.
Oh, geez. I'm looking this up on the computer. I didn't see that you handed me one. My mind is elsewhere, I'm telling you.
It's okay.
Fine.
Yeah, so our current revenues to date are $2,095,234 for building and fire, and I'll also highlight planning division and reflect how busy they've also been at $223,387. Grand total at $2,318,621. So currently $700,000 over our projected revenues for the year with 2 months to go. Setting records. Very
Good, I've got a $275 conference I'd like to go to. Can you guys
Approved.
loan me some?
Oh, I think we're negative $2 in our training budget.
I have to use travel for my $275, I
Well,
guess.
do you,
I'll sponsor.
sometimes your boards will pay for it.
This is not official Columbia River Caucus. This is that transboundary thing.
Oh, okay. Because usually your Columbia River Caucus pays for that stuff.
Sounds like they should pay you to go. So the current,
Moving right along.
Sidetrack, side note.
current permits in the queue, we have 8 commercial pending review, 15 single-family residences, which seems like we get through a batch and they just keep growing. So that's, the single-family residences are still going strong. 13 fast tracks, and we did get 2 third-party reviews. If you recall, the third-party review is a program we implemented at the end of last year that allows people to consult with a third party. We give them a 25% break in their plan review fees.
And how many did we have in the, I'm looking for the little thing. What page are you on, or do you
Yeah.
not have that number?
I don't put that in, I just.
Oh, okay, because I'm sitting here looking all over going, where, so fast track, how many did you have?
13.
And it's working well?
Yeah, right now that's, there's a total of 816, 46 permits is all, so it's very light, but it's still solid numbers. If you look, we had 54 submitted for the month and there's 46 in the queue. And we've issued 60. So yeah, it's going well. We're not getting any complaints. The two that were third party are part of the vineyards development. So they've been really, really busy with.
Is that down in Desert Air?
Crescent Bar.
Okay.
It's John Tyrion. So he's doing a lot of commercial self-service storage condominiums. So, he was
Oh,
delayed.
so what, it's a self-service, like condominium, condo?
Storage.
Storage condominium?
Yeah, so you actually buy it.
Oh, okay, you own it. That's why, I'm trying to figure out, do you live on top of your storage? It's a
No,
condo?
these are
Like a shop
structures that
condominium?
he's building
Okay.
within the area.
Okay, so you own your own.
So they can put their boat up here and live down here.
Okay, yeah, they had some issues, because some of them don't have garages.
Right. Most of them don't. So they have these condominium garages that they've been doing. We call
Not
them-
up top?
Yeah.
Some of that
Yeah,
ground.
so he wanted to fast track his two residential dwellings because now he's like behind schedule because of all these
Did
commercial.
they ever get
storage.
those houses built between the other developments? It was the orchard that they took out?
These are the ones, yeah,
Okay.
this that development, yeah.
Yeah, he's busy. He's one of our busiest customers. Going really well. So yeah, any questions? I mean, it's still solid, going well.
Yeah, they're putting something down in Desert Air. I think it's mini storage, because somebody asked me and I'm like, we don't always find out, but.
Yeah, there was a conditional use permit approved by the hearings examiner last month for a proposed mini storage development that has been a little bit controversial down there. Yeah, it's created a little bit of ruckus, but again, it's gonna have conditions. It has been assigned conditions, and height is one of the conditions that they'll have to be able to meet, so. Because
That's
it's
one that had some access.
It had
Concerns.
access concerns, yeah, it had some access concerns, and, it's at the end of the runway, so it's got some trajectory and height considerations that they're gonna have to meet.
Steep climbs.
What about that, there's something else down there, that gas station and I heard the city rejected it. Wow, I'm going, why?
Procedurally, it had some procedural concerns, some notification concerns, but it went through the second time. They just had to
Oh,
renotice.
so it did go through.
It did, yeah.
We were doing fine. Or, yeah, and I'm like,
Yeah.
there's not a whole lot I can
It
do.
was some legal stuff that wasn't done.
Correct. Yeah, correct. Access is poor, in my opinion, on that one, but it went through.
It will
Why
find
did it
a way.
have to like come off the circle and then go behind it and come in or
Correct.
something?
Yeah. You have to.
Well, and it
Pass
is
it
kind of,
back
yeah,
around.
if it's,
Yeah, you-
is it the northwest corner?
Yep.
Okay, so you've got to go in, yeah, kind of probably skate around there.
So hey, there it is. Whoop, go back.
How did I get to it? Yeah, so there was a procedural mishap, unfortunately, that caused them to renotice and go through it again.
So if there's no questions on the permitting and revenue statistics,
Looking good.
yeah, still going good.
Okay, so refresh my memory. You are putting an employee in, but it's in the 2025 budget, not the 2024. You're gonna wait till 2025?
What's that again now?
You're,
Admin assistant.
yeah, you're kind of switching.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
correct. So right now, we are out, we posted yesterday for a permit technician 1, which is a new position for us. So that's hit the streets, internal and external, for 2 weeks. And then we are also going to post for an administrative assistant. And that
I
is
just couldn't remember if it was also in the 2024 budget or if it's only in the 2025.
2025.
Okay. We just did you see our numbers? What we're taking out of current expense?
Yeah, we're looking to, we
I know this is an
requested during
employee.
budget discussions that we could start the permit tech position
Yeah.
if possible. It's gonna be dependent on the recruitment, success of the recruitment, but as early as possible, just to help that transition out, because Marina's last day is the 17th of January. So, and it's posted, so we'll see.
It's posted.
Is she retired? She's retiring, correct? So is there a possibility of, I know when Jerry left, he got paid a pretty hefty hourly salary in case he had to come back and help do some things, which he did. Is that a possibility with Marina? Or do you
No,
think it'll be,
yeah, I think it'll be fine, especially what Marina does and has been training the others to do to keep the ship afloat is a lot of financial management stuff, which permit tech shouldn't be doing.
okay,
Hence the reason for the administrative assistant position. So it's gonna be a little bit of a juggling act for a few months, but we'll be fine. There's no need for supplemental or temps to, plus she's got her fishing pole
she's ready to
ready
go?
to go. She ain't
Okay.
coming back. So item 2, emergency preparedness training. This is just something that, you know, again, unless you ask the question, you don't know, right? So in our organization, we have a thing called Washington Safe. So most of the building inspectors that can, you know, across the state of Washington, it used to be called ACT training way back when I did it, was or ATC, Applied Technology Council. So earthquake damage assessment, it's changed, now it's called WASAFE. Basically, it's a program that Washington Association of Building Officials allows, or I should say urges building inspectors to take this program, this course on how to do preliminary damage assessment, learn about emergency disaster preparedness. So if there's an event, we can move resources around the state where resources are needed. So when I broached this subject with the team, you know, when I was talking about emergency management, I kind of zeroed in right away that they didn't have a clue what I was talking about. So
Your staff.
right. So I started asking the questions. Well, haven't you been trained in it? We ever participated in our local disaster management? No, across the board. So we know we do have a hazard mitigation plan with the county, and we do have a, you know, emergency operations center, and what's it, 300 some odd pages. But nobody's ever been trained or talked about it.
The continuation of,
Coordinated operations plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're doing, you know, as part of this is to bring our team up to speed. So if there is a local event, we know what our roles are, right? And again, I've been doing emergency management my whole career, so, and I trained it and taught it for many, many years. So it's very easy for us to just do it internally. So when we're needed locally or regionally, everybody's got their certifications that they need, whether it's the incident command system training or the WASAFE training on preliminary damage assessment. It's going to be our roles if there's a flood, wind, wildfire event to go out and do preliminary damage assessment, say, what is the impact, right? That's just the way it is. Building inspectors are building inspectors. So we're doing a 5-module training. We started last month. We're doing 1 training per month, 5 modules. Basically, it'll be our team getting the introduction to incident command system, which is ICS 100. The following month, we'll go into basic ICS, which is ICS 200. And then we're going to craft it so it complies with our current county adopted hazard mitigation plan. So that module will be called local mitigation planning. So we know our role from a local perspective. And then the COOP that you mentioned, Madam Chair, which is the continuity of operations plan. How does our plan fit into the county plan? And then the last phase will be actually the implementation phase. It's Jim's team planning from the 5 elements of incident command. The basic structure is, operations, and then you have planning and logistics, finance. And Jim's team certainly will be essential and needed if there's an EOC event for the planning and logistics side. More public works for logistics, but Tim's team. And then my team would be in the operations sector doing preliminary damage assessment. So I just wanted to let the board know that we're working on that internally. So if and when there's an event, we'll be ready to rock. I was kind of shocked to learn that nobody's ever had any training or input on this.
So you've probably had conversations with emergency management over there as to how you interact and how it all
We will,
fits.
once we get to the local mitigation planning phase.
That 4th one.
Be
100, 200, and then
third,
the
yeah, COOP's 4th and
implementation's last, number 5.
implementation's last. So yeah, because it's a very robust document. I mean, it's this thick. Obviously, in most of the training, and I've had to have all of the ICS training in my roles, but this is what the books are, right, for every module.
You're giving Jim an A+ for putting this book together, by the way.
For every module, they're that thick?
Pretty much, yeah. And that's FEMA for you, right? So over the years, I've basically said, okay, what's our hazard, right? It was probably this thick on the west side because you're dealing with
Seismic stuff.
seismic, earthquakes, tsunamis, more drastic hazards. Here, based on our local hazard mitigation plan, we're looking at, wildfires, floods, windstorms, hazardous materials incidents, spills, which we wouldn't get involved in. It certainly has to be identified as part of your mitigation strategy. But what in our roles would be damage due to natural hazards or fire, where our roles come in. So I've taken this large document and maybe reduced it down to this, right? So all of the rest of the stuff is not need to know
Your team is
information.
going, thank you,
Yeah,
Chris.
exactly, right. Because they could take the FEMA class, which is a week long, or they could take a 2-hour module that really applies to exactly what they need to do. And the team's very excited about it because they've heard about it, but they're like, well, we always wondered what we need to do, so we're learning. We talked a little bit yesterday about the transient residence update. Should be aware now that Decker Technologies has probably already received their letter that we're terminating that contract. Jim and I are working with Granicus now to incorporate that into SmartGov. I wish we would have known Granicus was going to buy SmartGov at the time because it would have saved us a lot of time and frustration. As mentioned yesterday, the new contract is being worked on, and then that'll go to the prosecuting attorney's office for review as part of this sub-element that's going to be added. Just wanted to talk a little bit about the initial investment. Since the board, did approve this initiative, it was a $25,000 initiative that Granicus was awarded and we paid for. So we paid the $25,000 and the contract would have to be renewed on January 8th, but we said, no, we're not renewing the contract. The annual fee after that would be $13,000 a year. Under this new Granicus contract, it's $3,000 a year for the same thing.
Even savings.
Right, so we'll recoup that $25,000 in just a little over, under 3 years, so on the savings. Because again, we're very apprehensive about pulling contracts, especially when we get board approval to spend taxpayer money. But we just wanted to let you know that it's really a benefit. The buyback is very quick. and the amount of money that we don't have to waste in inefficiency, pay for it very fast.
Yeah.
Any questions on that?
No.
Well, this is where,
Not yet until we get approval.
right, right. Keep your fingers crossed.
I do, I really do. It's like,
And the conversation with Kyle, the contact for Granicus that we're working with is aware, and we explained to him. The contract can't be a link to a generic contract, so start producing one. And they're working on it, so it shouldn't be too long. The next topic is a very interesting topic, and I'm gonna let Jim weigh in also, but I just want to give you some very high-level thoughts on this, right? Something to think about over the next several months. We would like to move towards codification of the restructuring of our planning commission and our planning commission processes next year.
how many do you have, 5 or 7?
We have 7 currently. By law, under the Planning Enabling Act, which is part of GMA, right? Planning Enabling Act is RCW 3670 and GMA is 70A. So once you enroll into GMA, whether it's by mandatory or elective, you have to have a planning commission.
Okay, I just didn't know, because I thought we changed the numbers, maybe it was from 5 to 7 or.
Yeah, you can have
9
5,
to
7, or
7.
9
Okay.
per statute. We want to
Did we have 9
reduce
at one
that to
time?
5.
Okay,
We did have 9.
okay,
We
so we
went to
reduced
7.
it down to 7, now we're gonna go down to 5.
But with the caveat of, because if you really dissect the statute, we've already vetted this through the prosecuting attorney's office, and we were correct when we were analyzing this, saying 5 members, but when you reduce it to 5 members, it's hard to get a quorum, right? And quorums are vital to move through our docket cycle. But the way the statute reads is the director of the department, myself, can be the ex officio member, which is a voting member. So that's 6.
If they're lacking the quorum, you mean?
Well, if you go to a 5, you can go to a 7 by using an ex officio member, which would be me, and then Jim would be a member that can't be the director of the department. It has to be an employee of the planning department. So we're back to 7 voting members with only 5 appointed positions. Which is a huge benefit, because we'll still have that quorum.
Do you have some that are ready to term out?
Well, that's the other thing, is they're all supposed to term out after 4 years, and Bill has been on there for 111 years, I think.
Forever. He's been on there longer than I've been in this office.
Yeah, so they have to term out after 4 years. However, there's nothing that precludes us from saying, after your 4-year term, you're termed out, you take a year off and then you can be reappointed.
Okay. Yeah, we find out, we've tried to do some transition. I notice now some of our boards, we just keep doing the same board.
Right. So we're just trying to dial it in for, 1, to be statutory compliant, but 2, to make it more efficient. And Jim will share some of the frustrations here momentarily after I get through some of the highlights. So the term limits would be 4. We're also want the board to consider potentially adding some compensation, right, other than just mileage. What that looks like, we've played around with it a little bit. We're not talking about a lot of money like on the payroll. Statute allows a stipend.
Yeah, I think Board of E kids. Caitlin, do you remember, is it $200, $150?
Yeah, you
I
can
believe
do,
it's 200, but I'm looking right now.
to kind of incentivize it, because
Some of them are taking a day off work or it's disrupting their life.
yeah, and we would like to move towards, instead of just having meetings when we have to have meetings, is to have meetings at least 8 a year. So if we're meeting just through the docket cycle and it's a light cycle.
Do you have
we
to
might
do it
have
at
4
7:00
meetings.
at night? Could you do it earlier in the day, or is that what the board likes? 'Cause
Well, yeah, I mean, there's nothing that says we have to have it at 7:00 at night, and we do have draft language proposed that would move it up to 6. Right now, 6 to 9, and I would like to see it even maybe transition to even during the day.
Because we would like the health district, yeah, because a lot of the people that work for the health district have to show up. And I don't know, evenings are tough.
Yeah, and especially if it becomes if there's a stipend being paid and it would be,
Or leaving your job for an hour or two if you had to,
correct, right,
even if it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 4 o'clock.
yeah.
Yeah, and these would be baby steps, right? Ultimately, and I was sharing when in the larger municipalities that I've worked in, we had all of our boards and commission meetings, which were a lot of them. I was on 6, so 6 night meetings, I would never survive. They were all during the day, but because of that point, they were all paid positions. At least, some type of, which allowed them to leave. The point is.
They could justify leaving work, I think, if you get a little something.
Our goal is to really get, and I'll give you an example on our building and fire appeals boards, right? So typically you'll structure that and say it's a 5-member board. You need at least 1 engineer, 1 architect, and 1 fire-related person. So it's discipline specific because volunteers are great, but volunteers that have no idea what you're talking about really it doesn't work. We would like to credential the planning commission with certain elements to say, and if the stipend is enticing enough and the hours and the way we put this together, and again, this is all speculative, but if we can get candidates that have the background, like real estate background or planning backgrounds or some type of background that relates to planning so that learning curve is flattened and they understand that we value opinions, but not in a public meeting, right? You can't vote by what your opinion is. You have to vote on what the laws say and what staff's recommendation, what are the findings and facts. And Jim, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, I'm like, I have a question right here on some.
Yeah, I mean,
We have some couple board members that are just so.
They're
The,
passionate.
I apologize. The Board of Equalization's pay is $25 an hour.
yeah, and Director Young just nailed it, just took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, what we battle with this commission is biases and opinions, personal opinions, and this isn't the commission to bring that forward. And quite frankly, in summary, it's just so incredibly unprofessional that it paints Grant County in a bad light. It really does. It's embarrassing. So often the reoccurring theme, what I hear after these hearings, and again, we had 2 workshops, and as you well know, looking through those binders, there's a lot of solar, in this year's docket cycle. So we had a lot of outside folks listening in, tuning into these meetings, and the follow-up was pretty consistently that staff did a really good job presenting, but the commission was really out of bounds.
I think, there were on the solar, there was a lot of.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Letters.
and Commissioner Stone sent a voicemail to our office that I responded to. I had an opportunity to call this person and who was in.
I received
Right.
a voicemail. Did I receive? Oh, I forwarded it.
You did. And it was appropriate, and thank you for doing that. It was appropriate, absolutely appropriate for you to do that because you're correct. They should not be communicating with you directly, and I told this person as much.
Was it an applicant?
It was. Well, it was a concerned citizen
Okay.
that was hoping to talk directly with the commissioner, and that's inappropriate. And again, I let him know. And but anyway, it was a good conversation. But he was at this hearing and expressed again, how upset he was because one of the commissioners just put it right out there that basically he didn't care what the audience thought. It was about what he thought, and what he thought was, and just let him know what he thought.
Was he in my district?
No, he would be.
My district is local.
Yeah, he would be in I think he would be in Commissioner Stone's district, actually.
Not that it makes any difference, but
Yeah.
sometimes District 3 is very vocal.
Yeah. But nonetheless, I mean, it really, and this room was packed. And
We ran out of chairs.
we did, they were standing in the halls, over one application, and it lit the room on fire. You know, it was just really inappropriate, so, if nothing else, it's to do right by the county, by the constituents in the county, and to put us back on track as being, you know, professional.
And I'm assuming the commissioner that made a comment, it was more of a personal belief than, I mean, you know.
Yeah, it was, this is what I think, and everybody in this room is gonna think the same way, and tough if you don't like it.
Yeah, and the only difference is I'm sitting here and Jim's sitting here because he's running all the fancy stuff. And then the commission's at the dais and everybody's behind us. It's scary.
Yeah.
When everybody starts getting very vocal, fired up, and our backs are to these folks, I'm like.
You need to switch sides, you need to turn.
Yeah, I've never.
That's how contentious. And again, we're big on, you know, when I go to this, I wear this. When I go to something, I wear this. I represent Grant County. And so does Jim. We take that seriously. And we take our community seriously. So this element, which is a vital component of our processes as a planning commission, there's no doubt about it. We need a planning commission. And we're willing, and we worked really hard to train and educate. But some people, you know, I think the better we structure it through code, the clearer it is for a candidate that wants to sit on the planning commission coming in, will have clearer expectations of their roles. I think if it comes from code and not just out of our mouths, then they might believe it.
Yeah, and we need a commission that is willing to learn. I mean, we have put forward, you know, in between meetings, we've put forward educational information and sent it out, and whether or not it's been absorbed, I believe that it has not been absorbed. I mean, we need a commission that wants to understand what the Growth Management Act is, wants to understand the limitations and the bumpers that are placed on us. The rules of engagement. And so to Chris's point, instead of us, it always feels so adversarial when we're all on the same team. We don't like the some of the rules, right? But it's how do we, they're the rules. How do we operate within them to the extent that we can, and try to find that solution. That's what it's about. And so often it's become just an us versus them, and that's not how it's supposed to be.
Us versus them.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because it absolutely doesn't have to be that way. So.
And over the next 2 years, we're gonna be moving into our major comprehensive plan update, which is really gonna pave the way for our community.
So
for
you're
the next
recommending
10
going down
years.
from 7 to 5?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll be coming very quickly, again, because the next docket cycle will begin in July of next year. So we'd like
Are
to
you
have this
ready?
codified January, February, early.
I know Jim needs at least
2025.
8 months to get this thing together,
Isn't the
like,
screening, though, gonna be there if you both are members to make it 7 and they'll go, oh, conflict of interest, they're
We'll
coming
have
with
to-
their staff recommendations and they get 2 votes. I mean, I can hear this.
Yeah, what we'll have to do is attrition out. So we'd have to keep the 7-member board, and then as one terms out, we just don't appoint that person.
okay.
And then, once they get to 5, then we would just absorb 2 seats. There's no conflict or anything, that's what the law says.
Okay, and you can, because we've never had that way, so thank you for,
Yeah, no, we looked into it and vetted it through PAO. Rebecca responded, said, nope, absolutely. And I think that will help us guide them. Now granted, if it's initiatives that's brought forward by us, which are typically unified development codes, we don't do comprehensive plan amendments unless we would recommend it and the board would move that initiative forward. you know, there's a little bit of both positives and benefit or negative connotations with that, but, again, I've never sat on one of these boards as a voting member. I've always sat on these boards as the administrator, so. Yeah, it might work good, it might work bad, I don't
I
know.
know you can run, at least maybe you'll be like halfway, so you're not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I had a question, can I ask a question, or do I have to wait till the comp plan?
Depends on the question.
So just to clarify, in Mattawa, it says Mattawa is a zoning designation where every business that wants to locate there is only allowed via a conditional use permit to locate there. I'm just following up on the comment that was made. I think you made the comment. You were talking to two gentlemen. So is every business in the port, do they have to do a conditional use permit? That's what I'm getting out of it, but
That was
sometimes
the
I get,
industrial.
So in the Port of Mattawa, yeah, potentially. So potentially, because it's rural resource. The
Okay.
Port of Mattawa is rural resource. And so whatever is, so when you're looking at the rural resource zoning designation, depending on the use, is likely to be a conditional use permit. And the problem with a conditional use permit is that, you know, we can get you there, but it's financing, it's bank financing. So if a bank sees a conditional use permit, then they are of the opinion that can be pulled. Now, currently our conditional use permit code doesn't allow for a conditional use permit to expire or to be renewed.
renewal,
Right,
review.
right. So we could, of course, you know, lobby the bank and say, we're different, but most of the time they don't care. So that's where,
Well, I was just wondering, it's like then Mattawa maybe should fix whatever do they change it from rural resource to?
well, that's the problem is that they're outside of the UGA and they're in the county, but I hopefully, fingers crossed, I have a really exciting meeting on the 20th with FutureWise and the port. And I think that we're gonna be able to make that a UGA
Okay.
and
Allow it outright.
allow it, yeah. And so,
I have a question
yeah,
on that.
yeah.
Why FutureWise? To avoid a lawsuit? Because
No,
that just
it's
ticks
there,
me off.
so there's, so,
FutureWise is a nonprofit environmentalist group,
yeah,
right?
but they can,
A lot of money.
yeah, but they can, you know, and they can cause some grief, but
Havoc.
in this particular case, FutureWise is the one that came up with the idea. So they're in support of, because right now statutorily, counties can only have 2 planned industrial developments, and we already have 2, but there's no industrial developments on them, and we can't move them. And so we've spent our bullets at the onset of the Growth Management Act. We spent our bullets, unfortunately.
Through the dark.
Right. We just picked. It's like,
Where was that? Ephrata and what?
it's at Quincy. It's in Quincy, right at the end. You know, if we're coming into Quincy from Ephrata, on the right-hand side where that little blue church is, right before we cross the canal, all of that little valley right there is zoned industrial, and that's where one of our bullets was spent. And then the other one's right outside of Ephrata here. So those were our master planned industrial developments. We thought back in 2000, that's where we thought we were gonna be. So
And they're like, we'll show you.
yeah, and so unfortunately, you know, because we don't have a crystal ball, where we should have been is here, right? But what happened here is that at some point in time, we went through a comprehensive plan amendment and we changed it to the only thing that we could, and that was rural resource from ag. It went from ag to rural resource. It's outside of Mattawa's UGA. Right outside of Mattawa's UGA, barely. And so that's where it stopped.
So if they expand their UGA, then it'll be an allowable use.
Right,
Okay.
right. But there's no signs that they're gonna expand their UGA in that direction.
Probably couldn't.
Yeah, and
So
couldn't.
how do you entice them to do that?
We can create it.
Because we can
Oh,
create,
we
the
can
county
create-
can create it,
I
and
had
that's.
no idea.
Right, because it's so rarely used. So what we've been trying to do is reallocate those master planned industrials.
Okay,
We've been hung up on that, and so here FutureWise is like, hey, guys, what you're not thinking of is you're not thinking of this very underutilized section of GMA that would allow you to create a UGA if it meets
County.
these conditions. And
had no idea.
right, and so Patrick Boss at the port and Gil Alvarado and a bunch and FutureWise, they jumped on the phone. I'm like, absolutely, I'm gonna be on vacation, but I'm gonna pause the vacation because it's so important for these.
Yeah, I had
folks.
no idea. I was thinking they would just go into the Manawa UGA, but how
Right.
cool is that?
It's
County
gonna be,
UGA.
it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. So, anytime FutureWise is in support of something, of course,
Run
Yeah,
with
move
it.
with
run
them.
with it, right? So more
Be
to
their
come.
partner, not their enemy.
Right. But
Well, that's
currently,
exciting news.
yeah,
Okay.
currently, that's the reason for that comment is that,
How long would this take? It would be on they create a
would-
UGA. It has to go through another comp plan
it would be
application
next year's comprehensive
So
plan
there's
cycle.
a solution.
There's a strong solution on the table, and we
Okay.
would work hard to make that happen for them because they've been at it for a long time. So then, but the caveat is that it would have to be, it would have to be an agricultural use. So what is commonly brought up is that there was an apple slicing company that wanted to come in, and they're the ones that left. So that would, of course, be an agricultural related industrial use. So it would have to be resource-based uses is what would be allowed in that park. You can't bring in a Alcoa. It would have to be resource-based.
Which makes sense in that area anyway.
Well, those are
'cause
making
that's
circles.
supporting it.
Exactly.
Okay, well, wow, that's
So
pretty
that gas
good.
station we were talking about, isn't that in the same area?
That's at the roundabout. It's
It's at the
That's what
roundabout, out and
I thought
about.
that's where the port area was
No.
right where that gas station is and
Yeah, actually-
west.
the port area. The port
From
area.
there and then heads
Up the road a
north.
little bit.
It's up the way.
Yeah, that's urban commercial right there. So, and again, this relates back to the planning commission, because this is some cool stuff that we're working on. We've been working on this to set the stage for this comprehensive plan amendment for years. When I say years, since we've been here. We want to make sure that we actually have a comprehensive plan that has a planning element to it for these unique things to utilize the tools in GMA that are just sitting there. And again, a lot of people are very apprehensive. The meeting that we had with the prosecuting attorney's office to bring the land use attorney on board as a deputy and allow it to assist us during that interview was like, wow, it's about time somebody wants to push the envelope here, right? Because everybody just says, oh, we don't want to deal with a LUPA, which is a Land Use Petition Act, or we don't want to deal with commerce. Well, the way we interpret GMA is differently than the way other people do it, which would benefit the county just like this tool. Instead of just saying, no, GMA doesn't allow it, we're gonna push that out. Because we have buildable lands issues, we have water issues, we have all kinds of issues that are.
Well, the whole deal is, a lot of people feel it's more like in Eastern Washington, the GSA, Growth Stifling Act, and
Yeah,
instead
if
of
they can do it on the
management.
west side, why can't we do it here, right? So that's why it's important to, when we bring these initiatives forward through heavy vetting, starting with the Board of County Commissioners, we get approval for these initiatives through you because there's typically a budget element. And then to present them at the Planning Commission to be told it's a poor initiative, we're like, we brought it forward.
So let's carry on that conversation a little bit. I've been trying to chew my way through this.
We get a marker because you're gonna forget what you read about and what, so I'm like, was that for battery storage?
I'm starting to realize, right away, I couldn't find, these were not presented in the same way the numbering is in this list.
No, if you go to the very front, they'll have the numbers.
And
and the actual number of it isn't in the minutes. It's amendment to chapter 24.08 instead of the number of the thing. So that confused me, because you have here file numbers.
Yeah.
And I could, took me a while to find file numbers.
And if I can speak to that real quick, those are strategically in order, because this is a 4-hour hearing.
Strategically in order on these?
Yes, in that county business is first and should be
We should
relatively
zip right through it.
zip right through, to then files that probably will require some discussion. All said, we've got to get through it in 4 hours.
So why didn't you work through these in the meeting that way?
In this
In the
meeting?
minutes? In the way the
Well,
minutes?
because the completely different strategy when working through these with the planning commission. Yeah,
3-hour bulks.
yeah, completely different strategy. Because what I did with the planning commission is we did all of the unified development code changes in one group, and then all the zone changes and comprehensive plan changes in another group. And then I racked and stacked those strategically as well.
Okay.
And in fact, the UDC changes were broken up into two sessions, and those were strategically racked and stacked. So anyway,
Well,
sorry.
some of them we've
I'm
already gone through,
noticing-
like the,
I'm noticing this is an October 2nd minutes.
Yes.
How many, that's the only meeting you had in October,
No,
right?
we had one on the 9th too. We had a workshop on the 2nd and a workshop on the 9th.
it'll tell you like to
Yeah,
refer
we've had 5 meetings.
refer to this page.
So I was struggling with the fact that there were some minutes, there were minutes in every one of them, and I'm going, well, why have they redundantly said this same minutes? But you're saying there's like different sessions.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
It was fun
you
reading.
wanna discuss our questions about this so far, or how'd you wanna present on this?
It would be, I mean, it depends on what the question is. It would probably,
No, I just needed some, the clarifying on the ag.
Yeah.
I guess my questions are on this very first thing that came up where they wanted to, you talked about it yesterday, where they wanted to make amendments to the amendment, you know, with caveats or whatever, I forget the term. With exemptions. or
Modified. They
Modified it.
And Jim was going to explain that it was outside of the scope of planning department's ability to do it because it's not in accordance with the law.
Yeah, they can certainly, I mean, and part of our training sessions was that your role is advisory to the Board of County Commissioners. You have the right to approve, deny, or amend, or modify, right? Amend, modify. But your modifications is really from the perspective is the wording gets changed but means the same thing. You can't modify it to violate statute.
Like, I wanna go as
Which I
close
don't
to
know
the
about,
cliff
you
as
know,
we
so my
possibly
questions
can
may
without falling
jump in
over.
those areas. First of all, I don't know where table 5 is. They kept referring to table 5.
Table 5 is in the actual body of the text of the code change.
And
So in the critical area ordinance, so in 2308, and that's in I don't remember the file number, but it's 240 something. So in the critical area ordinance change, in the text, in the body of the text, table 5 is the mitigation ratio.
would I find it in here, in the
Yes,
one that
okay, that's
refers
where
to
you
that?
do 1 to 1, 2 to 1.
Right.
Okay, it's in there and you'll find it in several minutes, you'll find it.
And GMA specifies those mitigation standards?
No, that was negotiated with Fish and Wildlife.
Oh, and when they're saying 2 to 1, does that mean that if 2 acres are developed, you have to mitigate 1 acre aside somewhere? Or is that saying if you wanna do 1 acre, you gotta do 2 acres somewhere else?
Correct. The latter.
So to me, that'd be a 1 to 2, but I didn't understand how the ratios work. Okay, that's what I need to know. And so their
Was
changes
confused on this one.
had to do, one thing had to do with like following conditions. Number one, dry and irrigated agriculture be exempt from all mitigation requirements. What they saying? Are they saying if I want to make a field somewhere that's 160 acres, they
Yes,
don't
that's
think
what
that
they're
I should
saying.
have to
Right.
mitigate for that because I'm going to bring agricultural
Danny, I
production?
love that idea, but I think it's illegal.
Right, and that's the point we brought up yesterday. So we used Round Lake Farms as an example. They believe that.
Round Lake should not have had to mitigate.
Correct.
And according to GMA, they legally have to.
It's a critical area. Yeah. It's
What
a
if it's
critical
not in a
area.
critical area? What if it's just my sagebrush that
Oh, yeah.
isn't in their core areas?
Overlay
Is there
is
any
critical.
place that you could do it?
Yeah, I mean, if there's no critical areas, then you don't have anything,
But it's shrub step.
then you have to.
Then you would have to. Yeah, you would have
Is
to.
this-
What's the non-critical area?
If it doesn't have a shrub step overlay on it.
Exactly. Anywhere that
It just
wouldn't have-
happens.
Yeah.
It may be shrub step, but it doesn't happen to be in their map. Okay, I just didn't understand that.
Well, and they did
And-
admit that their map, they probably need to clean it up, Fish and Wildlife,
We're
because they
work-
have it
we're
in
working on it.
the
Yeah.
port of Royal City when they know it's an industrial. And it would accidentally got put in, but I wish they would clean it up and not rely on the
Yeah.
landowner to fight this.
So does this amendment, that's a question I have written down, does this amendment put CRP ground into core shrub state designation? You know, I've got quite a bit of
No. Because
CRP.
it's a farming, it's already established
No,
farming.
it's already established. It's not putting anything in.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not putting anything in. It's
So-
just, it's dealing with what do you do if you have a critical area that hasn't been developed? What are my tools in my toolbox to deal with critical areas that have not been developed? And the challenge is that people are really be hung up on that table 5, which is what they call permittee mitigation. That's a last resort. This ordinance is about pay in lieu and establishing the mitigation bank so that you have an option to be able to pay a fee to be able to develop as you wish over here and pay into a mitigation bank similar to a wetland bank.
When I'm reading through the minutes, I'm going, this is off in a whole different direction
Yeah.
than what we have been talking
This is-
about
and this
for
is the
months.
biases and the personal opinions that we're talking about. The minute that you say shrub step and mitigate, they say taking, they say no, they say all of the things, and they cannot hear the fact that this is a tool that all of us have been creating for the last 2.5 years to allow you to do whatever it is you want to do because we have established this tool over here. However, if you don't want to utilize the tool, then know that there is a table available to you to do your own mitigation. And yeah, that table is not fun because the current table in the current code started at 1-to-1, which is not mitigation. That is net loss, which Fish and Wildlife will not tolerate any longer, or 2-to-1 for offsite. It now starts at that table, it starts at 2-to-1, and you'll see it goes all the way up to 6-to-1. And the reason it goes to 6-to-1 is that if you want to blow up an acre of prime core shrub step to build your dream home, and all you have to give in mitigation is low quality, you've got a parcel over here that you've been hanging on to and it's low quality shrub step. So, hey, I'll put that in a conservation easement so I can do this over here. And your biologist says, well, that's, Mr. Stone, that's no good. You're gonna, for every acre over here of,
6 over there.
you're gonna give me 6 over here.
That can possibly grow.
Or you're gonna pay in lieu.
Or you're gonna pay in lieu. And that's the tool that we want folks to
That's
use.
the
We don't-
solution.
We don't want to see people do the permittee mitigation. But
If they do.
we have to have a third option. And the problem is that everybody immediately gravitates to, the third option. And I understand. I understand.
It's a hard pill to swallow because I think the first time everybody looks at that, you
Yeah.
feel like your land's taken over, you can't do anything you want to.
Right.
And it's a new,
Right,
something new and it's pretty cumbersome.
And, you know, and it is presented, in which, you know, may come up, you know, during the public hearing with board, is examples, right? It's not codified as spoken of yesterday, it's just in best available science. But wetland mitigation bank has been around, I mean, I was involved in it in '85, right? So it's been around forever. Now oak is here. Oak is 6-1.
What's oak?
There's
Like-
oak habitat.
down in Vancouver, Washington,
The oak wood,
yeah.
like
the
oak trees?
Yeah, and wetland mitigation banking, you're talking 17-1.
Well, that
And
sagebrush
people-
isn't really,
and
really
that's-
important yet.
That's out of WAC 173, that's state law. So
We had no
We're
idea
like, this is-
sagebrush was such a prime.
we didn't, 6-1 automatic minimum number, 6-1 oak habitat. So we're trying to lock this in before it becomes the oak habitat
Right.
or the wetlands mitigation banking. Once it's codified, we don't have those options. We're like, do you realize we're getting 2-1? It's unheard of. Starting point. Usually it's 6-1, 17.
So, yeah,
Once we lock that in by code, it's ours.
that's exactly right. That's what we've been trying to communicate, but it's,
Okay, then I just had a question on number 15. It's not 15, but just a comment. We're gonna do an ag survey in 2025.
2025, yeah.
So hopefully some of the ground that truly is not ag will come out of ag and.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's on our budget, and Tom Gaines of Central Services called me yesterday I think from Mandy's office, just clarifying what that $250,000 ask was and that, or
Well, that was
excuse me,
one
that was for, yeah, he called to clarify the 250 was for the coordinated water systems plan. Again, that one hasn't been updated since 2009, incredibly important. And then I reminded him the 197 on our budget, that capital ask is for the ag lands analysis.
Yeah, Mandy's trying to shave off whatever
I
she
know.
can.
I know, but I'll remind you, we're up 700,000,
So far.
700,000, so.
Well,
I had a
you're like
question
the
about
Two
only,
months to go.
you're
I had
the
a
only
question about that earlier, is
department
that
head.
if you wanted to get this person on a little earlier to start moving in to their next job, would you be willing to, I mean, is that some funds that are available?
Or are you
for
talking
to
about
use
the-
for that?
Absolutely, if we could,
So the finance person?
So, yeah, I mean,
That would be great if we could put in 2024, so it's not like a big ask in 2025, if you could get moved, if you could get moving on that a little faster.
I'll email
Or talk to
Dan.
your HR.
I'll email Dan right now and
Okay.
ask, I mean, if we can turn on the administrative assistant. I mean, they have to give union 10 days notice, the job description is already crafted. And we've got the money for it, so I can turn that on right now.
Well, I'd appreciate it if you wait for my question to be done.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This CUPs, we were fighting to get some control over the conditional use permits. And this got rejected by this planning commission.
Yeah.
You stated in these minutes that you thought that Patrick Boss and Austin Hicks made valid comments. Where are we going now? Because we want to get some control over these things. And if we say, well, no bank's gonna give us any loans if we don't, can we change the wording to review? What, how are we gonna, we gotta be able to cancel a conditional use permit if they're not following what they were
Yeah.
originally.
Yeah, I think,
We have some ideas,
Okay,
because we didn't think of that one, right? And when we can only think of so much.
Well, it sounds like we have a solution with
we have a
the
short,
UGA.
That particular one would address that one, but to your point, you're right, I mean, if the whole idea of conditional use permits is to make sure they're revisiting it, so I'm meeting the conditions.
I thought you made a great comment, where it's recorded in the minutes, you know. If we're gonna give it, what's the point of doing a conditional use permit if we have no regulation over it? Not conditional then. What's the condition?
Yeah, make it an outlay permitted use.
So if you can come up with a time frame, I will try as hard as I can to stick with it.
I will, and since I'll have a running clock, so, on the screen, so it'd be like.
Nothing is more, all of a sudden, like in your campaign, whatever, you get that.
We're gonna have no more
I
discussions
have no
over this
idea.
until it actually happens, so,
It's Tuesday.
well, you may hear from me.
It's fine.
Well, thanks for answering those.
Cause I
But
just
Danny, if you
started.
if you start in your book and read through and then find it, the minutes behind it.
Yeah, and if you get, these
I'm
questions.
gonna tell you, I'm probably not gonna read all that.
No, but you don't have to
before
read,
12.
but there's a lot of duplication in the minutes, so your minutes on.
Yeah,
Yeah, if you have any
Yeah, I went to
questions
number
on
one and started reading the
navigating-
minutes on everything.
Yeah,
that
so
one,
don't,
and then
you're
I was
gonna get
trying to-
confused. No, look for the minutes, read it.
Yeah, it is
Pertains
hokey,
only to
because we
that.
one meeting was broken up into 5 meetings, 3 workshops and 2 public hearings with the planning commission.
That's the only way I can do it and understand. Otherwise, I'm like.
15 hours versus 4
I can only do.
Hats off to you guys.
My memory isn't that good enough too. I get squirreled off into another. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for your time as usual.
Well, thank you for putting that together and allowing us time to review it before the morning of the.
yes, absolutely,
For the
absolutely.
afternoon, I guess we're doing it in an afternoon.
Good rest of your day.
You too, thank you.
Go into recess, man.
Okay, it is 12 o'clock. We're going into recess until 1 o'clock. And we'll be available on YouTube.
I'm not sure the sheriff was gonna join us. Caitlin, is the sheriff on?
Caitlin
No,
or Brittany,
The sheriff is not online.
okay,
He's not.
maybe can you let us know when he does join, please? Do we have any other callers?
You have one call-in user.
So item number 1, I wanted to give you an update. I did send you
Got your email?
that email. So we did have a meeting today with an IC. He's now our newly assigned IC trainer, and he wasn't able to assist us with the issues we're having because it's will be the developer who needs and development to resolve some of the issues that we're having. And that meeting will be tomorrow. So we'll be meeting with the product owner, the developer of the product, the recruitment side of it, and hopefully he will be able to assist and provide us some answers. But if not, yeah, we're gonna have to make difficult decisions. We've really invested a lot of time into this recruiting software.
And I apologize, the sheriff is online now. We're promoting him to a panelist.
Okay, thank you, Caitlin.
I really don't want to walk away from it.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We can hear you.
Thank you for joining.
Yes, I had to download the app. Sorry about that.
Oh, gosh, okay. And Gina's running, she was printing some documents, so she's running just a couple minutes late, so I'm just covering another topic while we're waiting.
Okay, I'm gonna just mute my mic there.
Okay.
Oh, Gina's walking in right now.
Glad you're here with us. So I'll finish this up quick. So it feels a little defeating in the fact that we've dedicated so much time and we're not any further along than we were a month ago and still continuing to have issues and that are unresolved.
You guys have put a lot of time into this.
Yeah. Okay, well, now that Gina is here, you have documents.
There's a paper jam. So Tina's trying to unjam
Okay.
it,
Okay.
and then I will have documents.
Okay.
You might be able to print it off here, but.
Wonderful.
Okay. Tina's on it. Okay.
Tina is on it. We can move to, well, we'll move 2 to later. So we'll get through. How about number 3? I'm getting lots of questions from department heads and electeds about positions that were in the proposed budgets. And when that, I know you guys have the meeting on the 15th.
Yes.
Which will not be talking about positions,
But do you anticipate that we'll be having a meeting to discuss
Yes, we will definitely be having a meeting. Mandy brought forward yesterday, during one of our meetings, we were about 9 million over budget. And she got that whittled down to, is it 6 million? 6 or 7 million that we have to take out of reserves to balance our budget, and that is not including new positions. So we have quite a bit in new positions. So we probably need to work towards backing up some of our, unless we have a huge reserve, but I know we are good to move forward with, I think it's like 3 to 4 million out of reserves. That we had a healthy reserve, so we could take that. I don't know about the 6 or 7 million. That is kind of Daryl. He underestimated some of his revenue, so I think that's where it went from 9 million down to 6 million. But so we've got to whittle that
discuss
down.
further on the 15th, and then after that?
And then we will,
you'll have a
yeah,
better-
looking to see what things.
Okay.
And again, it is open to the public. We're just
Yeah.
not, it's really hard to kind of whittle things down. We have a lot of input from, other departments, which they're more than welcome to join. Doing the tackling of the budget.
Okay.
And I don't know on the 15th. We should, by the time we leave, make some changes. So I'm thinking of the week of the 25th, 26th, 27th, somewhere around there. We should be able to have a meeting and kind of finalize everything.
Okay.
We can see what our budget are. It looks like our calendar is really full, then we have all these cancellations. So as we go throughout the day, we're like, oh, we have an hour.
Yeah.
Today we had a 2-hour gap.
And so what does presenting positions to the board look like for the budget? Like how are you guys expecting to receive?
I think we should have a list, or we can go by, just kind of list and look. I don't know, it's gonna be a little difficult because I know planning was gonna reach out to their HR director and maybe get started on the, they are $700,000 to the good. Reach out to their finance or work on their, they have a planning tech. And then that one person is basically getting replaced with 2 individuals. So the kind of the accounting person, finance person. So maybe starting with that. Opening that up at the end of the year.
So are you guys looking just down the list and saying yes, no? Do you guys want us to bring data, wage information? I mean, should we prep at all for?
Were departments coming to talk to?
Because some of them have already talked to us about it. I think they put the salaries in the schedules. They have put salary, if there was a salary change, they have put that salary change in the budget, so.
Okay, so you're not looking for anything?
I think we'll probably just kind of go through the list and we can see, but I do believe Kirk was going to move forward on the salary survey. He has gotten some information, I think the contract 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago. So maybe it's been 3, but I want to say it's 2, so. I think Tyler Tech is slowing down, so maybe he can move forward.
Yeah.
So right now, I don't think HR needs to provide a whole lot of data.
Okay.
I think it's more of, can we afford these positions if we.
Yeah, well, if there's any data, it would be on salaries that are the real deal. Whether it's, if we've got them in the budget, you can look through that and see if they've given the actual correct salary.
Yeah, and I guess my challenge is that HR's not involved in the budget, so what number is in there? I can't verify that from the groups.
So yes, Mandy.
Thank you.
Thank you for saving the day.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so we can help verify. Would imagine that Mandy will be verifying that as well, so we can audit her audit.
Yeah, no, and you're more than welcome to show up, and I don't think we're gonna, sometimes it is just kind of a guess when you put somebody in, like if the sheriff, if he's hiring a lateral, I'm just not, or a new person, there is a difference on the salary, or
Yeah,
So sometimes we just kind of put the placeholder, but last year we put the money in the budget and yeah, but this year I think we're gonna just probably look to see what the budget, I honestly, with the budget like it is, I don't see a whole lot of new employees coming moving forward. It's gotta be, I think we have some needs, some high needs that we need to fill. I think we have some likes that we would like to have somebody out there. But until we get that whittled down, and we could be taking some out of capital if it's coming out of current expense and rearranging things like that, so. I
to be
have,
determined after the
to be
15th.
determined, yeah, but I'm trying to,
Sometime after the
I'm
15th.
on my
Fair enough.
phone to look to see if we have an opening. We have an accounting meeting. Budget and finance, law and justice.
We should probably move forward with the sheriff because he's hanging
Fair
on
enough.
for us.
Okay, next topic is labor relations, if we can.
Thanks, Danny, but I'm just being a good passenger right now, so I got about another 2.5 hours, so I'm good to go.
Okay.
Okay, just hang tight then.
I'm holding.
Okay, we are ready. Cindy, when you are.
Okay, sorry. Looks like we do have some, but some of those meetings are canceled on our Monday mornings, so. Okay, so how much time do you need?
15 minutes?
Okay. So from 1:11, and we're just gonna go to 1:30, so it'll be easier. Executive session, it will be recruitment. 423110 1G, just wanna make sure, is it negotiations, collective bargaining?
Yes.
Okay, excuse me, it is negotiations, RCW 4230-144A. We're going into executive session for collective
So-
bargaining session.
Caitlin, I'm gonna go backstage, right? Enter backstage?
Yes, and we will move the sheriff backstage also.
All right, thank you.
Commissioners, it is 1:30.
I know with our funding coming in.
Hey, Joey.
Commissioners,
Yeah.
yes, it is
Let
1:30.
you know that you're out of executive
Okay,
session
just
just
a minute,
now.
let's do executive session for another 5 minutes. We'll go from 1:30 to 1:35. Again, same RCW 4230-144A. Executive session.
No decisions were made.
No decisions were made. We are out of executive session.
Which will put us, my request back into executive session under
Number 2.
number 2.
Personnel disciplinary matter. RCW, let me get another, 4230-110 1F. How long do you think this is gonna take?
10 minutes.
Okay, so from 136 to 146. Again, 4230-110 1F. Disciplinary matters.
We don't have to.
For just a second, did you need me to-
Does Joy need to be on?
Oh, nope. You're good.
I am good, sorry, my signal was getting spotty. Okay.
Yep.
Well, if you
You're free to leave. Enjoy your ride.
Give me a call, I have my phone with me.
Thanks,
All right,
Thank you,
thank you, have a good rest of the day and a good week.
Bye.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Commissioners, it is 1:46.
I have probably 10 minutes for, are we out?
Ooh, I think she said we're out. Yep.
Okay, we are out of executive session. I do have another executive session I wanted to talk to. There was no decision that was made. It'll be job applicant evaluation, RCW 4230-110 1G. And oh shoot. I need to grab a fresh one. I thought I did. It's a big day for HR. We go weeks without a whole lot of exciting things happening. So.
Shouldn't this be the same number that we just ran, but you said F?
1G. I said
Oh, no, that's
42,
personal
131.
disciplinary, you're right,
Okay,
right.
So from 147, we'll go to 155. And no decision
Commissioners, it is 155.
for direction. I'm
Yeah,
thinking what's going on right now is not working.
I agree.
On a scale of 1 to 10, it's probably the worst it's been.
I agree. And I wonder, or I would suggest that the board think about the position and if it does need to be backfilled. Now, I mean, if it doesn't need, I mean, if you're looking at the budget, you're looking at workload, is it a position that is needed? If not, then now would be the time to address it rather than posting, hiring, and then laying off. So that would be my recommendation.
Can meet with our department head.
Sounds good. I did my 2 items. I'm gonna give you last real quick. I have a quick job description for your review for risk management position. Feel free to peruse over the next week and we can come back to it, but I did, and if you want it emailed, I'm happy to send it to you. Just I was printing out all the things. I thought I'd print it for you as well. And then the final item, policy review, I did send an email about policy 1600 for you to review.
Good to me.
So then we can.
I mean, you're still gonna potentially have Tom review the full thing, but let's get that on. Let's get that on the website, and if he comes back having reviewed it, there might be a few tweaks that are very minor.
Yes, I think we get a signature, it can come back next week. I have a half an hour meeting with you. Come back next week with what is there and then, or put it on a, I don't know whether it needs to come back in consent or whether it can come back in an HR meeting that is yet to be determined by those who determine that. I did ask Barb to follow up on that, which avenue it needs to be presented in.
And what is this different from the one we had prior?
There was a couple things added from Shane. It was, no, I can't remember.
There is, I can highlight those.
I'll tell you.
I did combine a couple other things or add a couple of things to what Shane had presented. Just to encompass. Cindy had some suggestions as well that I added.
Is it interface with all claims matters? I can't remember. There was a couple things.
I'll highlight it and you can email it to me. But it's all, I think everything Shane
Yeah, it should be, yeah. Oh, reviewing the
some other
contracts. I think it was
additions.
reviewing the contracts. When we're the pool, working with the elected officials. All right, well, it's 1:59. We are in recess until, I'm looking at my phone, 2 o'clock. And we have commissioners meeting. Sorry. 5 people here, 2 o'clock.
It's election day.
That's right, everybody's voting. Good afternoon, it's 2 o'clock. We are here for the Commissioners Roundtable. I do not have the agenda in front of me, so we'll call this meeting to order. We have 3 minutes for citizen comment. Do we have any citizens who would like to comment? Anybody online?
We do have 2 call-in users. Let me see.
session in there, sorry, we had 3 different executive sessions. And I thought one was an empty one.
Tammy would not like to speak. She's not unmuting. And the other one is Susie, and I'm promoting her to panelist.
Okay. Hello, Susie. Susie, do you have any comments?
I don't. I'm just attending to make sure that my out-of-state travel request gets approved. There weren't questions yesterday during roundtable, but
Yeah, no,
So I'm gonna make a motion to approve our agenda as presented.
I'll second. There's been a motion and a second to approve the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Agenda has been approved. Do we have any correspondence?
I have, it's not emailed, but I have the Public Works County Payroll Salary Fund that needs to be signed. And then I have a couple of pay slips from Kirk, I just did not want to forget.
Okay.
Then we also got an email from Sarah Tweedy.
Yes.
And yes, I don't know if you saw that or Brittany forwarded it yet.
She wrote it yesterday and she did show me it. They are requesting $130,000.
130? What was that? Okay. So
I can't remember.
All she said in the email was an additional 100,000. That they would be making that same request to the city.
Oh, the city. Okay, so it's just 100. Okay. And then we
So
can,
that's a $200,000 request, up from 138.
well, they're hoping the city would help too. And I think that's just what they were what they were behind to date and to finish up the year. So they were she was gonna go visit with the city. That's kind of really sad. So, yeah, I told her to write and then we can take action on it. So if we can put it on next week's consent agenda, would probably be the best. Because I don't think I would hope that would work. I don't know if I would like to just advertise it instead of
Yeah, I agree.
rush something through.
Some amplifying information. So I had a conversation with.
Amplifying, that is a really good go.
Okay.
Could we go ahead and move that to a commissioners roundtable? Because I think it will be on, it'd be.
Okay,
perfect
is that
for
where
the
it is,
next-
because it's emails or letters of support? Okay, moving to the commissioners roundtable. Is that it for correspondence?
That was what I had. I don't know if Brittany had anything else.
Brittany, did you have anything?
I did not.
It is Mattawa Food Bank has requested letter of support for the Paul Lozier
Yes.
Foundation, so we will get a letter written for
Yep,
them
yes.
for next week's. Move to roundtable, Tom, you have what did you call it, a spirited move?
No, it's just amplifying information on the conversation you just had. I spoke with Victor Lombardi today from Moose Lake City Council. We spoke more about animal outreach, but he did speak to their request for money. He has asked to see their books for the past couple of years because he doesn't feel like he can go to the city council and say, we need to give them more money when they haven't even seen their books. So he's waiting to get that from Sarah before he addresses it, my understanding, with the rest of the city council, so.
Okay, will we give them $40,000 a year to take our animals? I think we increased it, did we?
We were like at 40 and then we increased it to 100 over the last 2 years.
And
So they're asking for an additional 100. So we're doubling this year's input.
so I want to do it? Probably not, but I don't think we have any options right now at this time.
I can tell you, even at that, we are a long way from what they're spending in Spokane, so.
Oh, yeah, we couldn't run a shelter for the amount of money that they're running their shelter.
Yeah.
No, and I think if we move forward with the new facility, I think it'll come together, but they are a team player for us. So we'll put that on next week's agenda. Thank you for the information. Any other discussion for roundtable?
Well, I will say that I was talking to Tom this morning. Don't even recall what I originally came down there for now, but we ended up getting a call from Spokane, what's it called?
Scraps. So this is the actual Spokane County Animal,
Spokane Regional Animal
yes.
Place.
It's an actual, I'll screw
I
it
don't know
up.
what it is.
But it's kind of funny, I didn't realize, I thought Spokanimal was a county department. It's not, it's a nonprofit, but Scraps is a full-on county department with a director and manager, and they've got a full-time vet on staff. It was an interesting conversation.
Well, it was, yeah, and he was very forthright, and I thought it was very informational. I thought it was a good conversation. And he didn't know I was in the room when he was talking to Tom, but I was listening in on the it was a speakerphone. And then Tom introduced me, and so I asked a few questions as well about their situation or made comments too. But seems very helpful, and made some good points about policies that they had to review when he came in, and that I think are worth reviewing in our local area, because we are putting a significant amount of money and asked to put more into their operation. But our control over how their operation is done is very minimal. And so it's an interesting betwixt and between. And so I was just asking him questions about that. Thought we had a good conversation when we went down to the Wenatchee, a humane society and the kind of way they operate their facility, and thought that we needed to maybe integrate some of their thoughts into our own Grant County's animal outreach, but it's not really.
My takeaway is there's a lot more going on there than you realize, and you think of the operation that Scraps has, the operation that Spoke Animal has, and then he talked about 2 or 3 different things that orbit around that help them, that are also nonprofits. And then, to hear that Spoke Animal was doing 75 to 85 spay and neuter processes every day. That's a lot.
And Scraps has.
Oh, that's not mine.
Scraps has, but you were using it.
Yep.
You all done using it?
I think so.
Scraps is
Thank you, Danny.
utilizing 1 full-time vet and 2 vet techs all the time. They're basically on staff.
We definitely have a need, and then instead of coming out of current expenses, can come out of our 133 account if we can pay wages for economic enhancement. So this would be a good, Mandy from the accounting department mentioned that, so we do have ample funds in that account.
The other thing that she was asking about was that she'd seen that Public Works had vans that were surplus, and they were wondering about getting some of those. Which I understand.
I think they're already surplus and sold.
I think she was just maybe speaking for the
next
future.
go around, okay,
maybe?
next go around. We definitely
Is this in the letter that Sarah sent?
She said that, yeah, it was an email, I think it was this morning.
And she asked about the vans at the same time?
Yeah.
Oh.
We did have some vans, but they are long gone.
I will make sure that email is forwarded to you guys, and then.
She saw me driving around, I'll bet, in one of the vans, and she wants that van.
The one with the glass.
Yeah, I think they
Thing.
probably all have the glass
With all
divider,
the dogs in
the
the back.
plexiglass, yeah, load them up and go. No, that would be a perfect looking for, so we can keep that in mind. Okay, any other roundtable? I do have a roundtable discussion item. I have been looking at plane tickets to go to Kamaki City and Toyama. We have an itinerary with the 2 towns, so it'd be flying out May 14th and returning that following Tuesday or Wednesday. And the plane tickets, the cheapo seats are $1,200, $1,000 to $1,200. So can't give the taxes and stuff they were like. So I think we did put money in our budget in miscellaneous general government if we do it this year or next year. Danny, do you have if I get the tickets this year versus next year, and then I will let Port of Moses Lake know, Big Bend, the EDC for our 10 individuals that have been invited.
Are you suggesting the $3,700 that we've got left, utilizing some of that for the travel on the tickets?
No, because we actually were taking it out of miscellaneous general government. Because it was in the 133 account, we had to transfer everything over to the So we transferred all of that into miscellaneous general government. I do believe there's still funds left, but I can wait until next year.
I don't have a problem if you take it from this year or next myself. 6 of one, half dozen the other.
Okay.
I would like to discuss our meeting yesterday just a little bit in a roundtable with Sarah and Victor.
The animal outreach.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's valiant to want to save significant funds. But you're talking about a building that kind of takes a beating anyway, and then using the possibility of a triple wide or say a couple of surplus double wides or whatever to have your main office and whatever. I was just going, man, I don't know if that can really withstand the kind of.
I was thinking the same thing. I know there's some savings.
And I mean, there's some people say the difference between manufactured and modular, you know, you'd have to prove to me there's much of a difference.
One key thing to think about here is I did speak with a modular building manufacturer out of Oregon that is on KCDA. They've done modular buildings upwards of 30,000 square feet. But and I sent him a copy of the plans that they had created just to kind of give him an idea. The thing that jumped at him was, this is an animal shelter, you're gonna want concrete floors. He goes, none of the modular buildings are built to have concrete floors, they're all built with wooden floors. So that was the first thing we would have to overcome. And I thought, well, that's an interesting point.
I'm not certain about that because they weren't really talking about the office administrative space being a place where the animals were.
No, but
they
off
would be
that,
bringing them to sell or to drop off.
yeah, and
I
that
should say
again,
sell, to find their new home. That sounded terrible.
that's where we did, and
Adoption.
so his engineer is back in the office tomorrow. He's gonna look at it and try and come up with some ideas, because we did talk about that. Talked about maybe doing separate pole buildings where the kennels would be and figuring out, you know, how to condition that. But in that main office area, possibly just do a modular, because it was surrounded also by kennels. But even those could be kind of bolted on, or that could be done differently somewhere else, you know, so.
And you can always put tile floors and a good solid,
Waterproof membrane of some kind.
yeah, on the floor for where the animals will come through.
Yeah, and then you go up 4 feet on the walls with FRP.
Are these modulars with 2x6 walls?
I think to meet building code, they would have to be, the longest they can go, the widest they can go down a road is 14-foot wide and 70-foot long, although they don't like to go 70-foot long, and it's hard. Oregon, they do that all the time. In Washington, Idaho, they frown upon that length. But certainly, you know, he's got the set of plans and nothing there was 70 feet long. You know, if you had to kind of bolt it together, right, nothing was gonna be that length, so. The other thing that they do, which I didn't know, was it is turnkey. They do all the site work as well. So when you do order that through KCDA, your price is your price. All the costs are included, and they have to, KCDA ensures that the prevailing wage was paid and all of that stuff, so.
Okay, so they take care of it.
Yeah, so you don't, you know, you get a budget number from them, you don't have to sit there and add 40% to it.
Okay.
So it'll be interesting to see what his engineer says and see if they come back with any ideas.
Did he say that on the structure itself, they have to pay their workers prevailing, or is it the site work?
It's the site work, yeah, because that manufactured building is built off-site. They're building that in Oregon or wherever, you know. Victor sent me links to 2 other modular builders, and I think both of them are on the KCDA site, so we could talk to all 3.
It'd be interesting, but I really wanted, I'm just, you know, of course, I've been around long enough to see trailers come from trailers through modular, you know, through manufactured to modular and whatever, and I've just never been. Yeah, that's what you invest in for the future,
For a
you know?
long-term commercial building, I agree, and I think there's some costs here that we're not fully considering, you know, like the gentleman from Scraps said, make sure you think about your HVAC. You're definitely gonna want air movement. You're definitely gonna want dehumidification. You know, if you're gonna be keeping a lot of dogs, which they do here. And then the possibility of even having separate HVAC systems so that if you do bring in an infected animal, you know, and it spreads in the office environment, it's not spread, if they assess that animal and they say, oh, it's sick, they can keep it separate from those kennels.
Isolation.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was saying that, you know, Tom said to him, this plans we've seen has been kind of unconditioned space out where the kennels and stuff, and this guy said, you really can't do that, because if you have an enclosed space, you don't condition it, hey, a lot of dogs breathe in a lot of moisture, and you've got to be keeping that air moving, and you got to keep a temperature up. He specifically said above 45, because I said, well, what, most dogs, couldn't you be like 45 degrees? He goes, people come to see dogs and they walk in, they're gonna go, you're being cruel, this is too cold for them. Well, some dog breeds, it would be kind of cool for them, but Huskies and German Shepherds and whatever, they'd love that at 45. So there has to be some conditioned space, which adds to your cost out there in the kennel areas. Anyway, I just wanted to reflect on that conversation a little bit. I thought it was good.
Ongoing, to be sure.
Okay, is there anything else for the roundtable?
No, Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion
I'm just gonna note that this is Brittany's last roundtable and we're really gonna miss her next week.
Did you hear that, Brittany? I hope it came through loud and clear.
It did. I'll miss you guys too.
You can always call in and we're like, oh, is that Brittany, our Brittany, or is that another Brittany? We'll be wondering.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 13 as presented.
I'll second. There's been a motion to approve the consent agenda items 1 through 13. Any discussion?
Wait a second. I want to retract my motion because I forgot that number 9 is to be denied.
You're approving to deny it.
Yes,
If you read it, they're approving to deny it. The recommendation is to deny the application. So we approve all of them. So your motion is good. Your motion approves a denial of it.
I disagree, and I would like some clarification on that as let's converse about it. This is an application for a change of location, which is against our ordinance. And this is a comment that we recommend we deny it under our ordinance. So I would say we need to deny the whole number 9.
We definitely, was it last week? That was definitely last week.
We pulled it and then.
As like you're approving their recommendation to deny it.
We're approving the denial.
And then you deny and then we had signed saying that you had denied the one.
We deny the application. So they're asking us.
Okay, so I will make, I've rescinded my motion, so I'll make another motion. I'd like to move that we approve items 1 through 13 as presented, recognizing that number 9 is a denial of the request for that application, just to reference it in the minutes.
I'll second. There's been a motion, a second, to approve action items 1 through 13, noting that number 9 is a recommendation to deny the liquor cannabis application. Any discussion?
Yeah, I saw a letter come through from the Cannabis Board just recently, once again stating that they were not gonna accept our denial. And I'll publicly say that I think their argument is very weak, and I'm upset that they do not recognize the county's, position on this at this point in time. And I'll be glad when our comp plans goes through and we can hopefully stand that up.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda items have been approved. Let's go ahead and sign them.
This is AP batch. This is the amendment to CRA's contract.
Don't forget to vote.
I already voted.
I do too. I gotta read it home so I can watch the election.
You don't have to get home till 8 o'clock.
You can still see what's going on in other states. So we said, no, they're not posting it until Washington is done, and then we turned the TV, like, oh, that was a big lie, it's on there.
It's the annexation and developers agreement.
I can get copies of those right away.
Yes.
Keelan is awesome. She's done a really good job.
Depends on the day, probably.
you
October
do a great job.
14th minutes.
And she will be going to Laserfish, and I'm scared because the next day we're gonna be probably transitioning to Laserfish because Caitlin is just that much of a.
It's gonna be
Did the
great.
first one have one of these pages on it? Cause I didn't do an initial.
No, the first one was just that they forgot. No, they don't ever.
Should be old hat.
Reimbursement request from the Port District. Reimbursement request from Port District.
So this is Brittany's last packet. Did she show you how to put the packet together?
Yeah.
You are learning way too many things. You're gonna be like, can do everything.
That'll be fine. I like being the person that does everything. Reappointment letters and this, you know, district.
We're gonna put it in just right around here.
This is my out-of-state travel request for Laserfish. I'm very excited. I love conferences. This is the recommendation to deny the Washington State
So I
Liquor
approve
Transport.
approve the, what was asked,
And then deny.
and I
on
deny
the-
this.
We'll just keep making them write those stupid letters.
This is the WSU facility use agreement.
I noticed on some of them, they just do clerk of the board, it's not a name.
And so.
Like if you're the clerk of the board, or the clerk, because you and Brittany should have signing authority.
Well, we signed when Barb's not here.
Okay.
That's the out-of-state travel request for New Hope.
Did you hear that, Susie?
She's off, I know. I'm like curious if you're going to the grant, but it's
Purchase
different
order
grants.
number 559 from TS.
Are you both going to Wasatch in a couple weeks?
Rob and I are, I think.
No,
Rob had said
I-
that he was not going, so that way there would be a quorum here that Tuesday. Purchase order number 560.
Oh, I thought it's one later in the week.
It was probably just that Tuesday then that he was not going.
I already did my travel. My travel is like. I think you should have the ability to travel and go to those things.
I'm going. I just didn't know if you got.
Yeah, will you go to I asked Danny and he didn't know if he could. I'm really interested in the 4-day work week, the 32-hour work week.
Okay.
Because there are employees that are doing like,
Why would you do a 32-hour work? You can just do 4/10s and do a 40-hour work.
well, I don't know.
I did 4 times.
Yeah.
I love my 10-hour shifts.
Yeah.
Do you? Then why did you do them?
Well, because I am on
I guess-
probation and you said, do you wanna work 5/8? And I said, sure.
Who has that?
When you hired me, they were like, you'll be doing 5/8, and I said, great.
We have people that are because I think it's really important to do the flexibility.
Oh, well.
As we learned at
whatever.
training, we gotta take care of the families.
What's tricky is the coverage in your office.
Yeah.
So that's always.
We have more employees in our office than we've ever had.
But the clerk coverage. Oh, I'm just saying. I'll do pretty much whatever. I just work here. Goodbye.
You really do like 410s?
Huh?
You would like the 410s?
I liked working 4/10s when I was at
Then you're just
McDonald's.
done.
But again, it was McDonald's, and so if I can just do 4/10s and then not be there for 3 days of the week, I loved that because I smell terrible when you come home from McDonald's. It's the worst.
Well.
But I don't mind doing.
Are you guys ready to?
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry, it is 2:28. We are in recess until, I think, next week.